And we are live. Welcome back, everyone. On the Perf podcast is live and cooking in your earbuds. As always, brought to you by Atlas Gunworks. We have some excellent Atlas Gunworks news for you. Riser has confirmed that the Apollo has cleared the tower. He will be in possession of an Apollo for the entire month of June, pretty much.
For the next 3.5 weeks.
The much anticipated Atlas Gunworks Apollo experience is about to happen. So you know that is going to be some sweet pod for all of you, and I cannot wait for UPS to just drop that thing on your doorstep like a stork. And It will be amazing. Riser, how are we feeling about this?
I'm stoked, man. I'm stoked to finally get to compare them. And I have a buddy who has an Erebus, so not only do I get to compare them, but I actually get to compare them side by side at the same time, not just going off of memory. And I get to shoot this in the Salt Lake 360, which is kind of like the big local match coming up. So it's just I can't remember how many stages it is, but the minimum round count for each stage is 60 rounds. So just imagine like a USPSA match, except every stage is 2 full field courses. And then I get to shoot it up in Parma at the High Desert Championship. Very stoked. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited as well for all of the impending YouTube content on that. I have shot, I'll say, most of the flagship Atlas models. The Apollo to date has escaped me, so I have not tried it myself, and I am curious to see how this all goes, and I'm going to find out with the rest of you.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. But before we get into our topic here,
you came strapped with some Gary.
I came strapped with some Garys. So, because we're going into a pistol match, I figured it was appropriate to bust out a pistol Gary here. My Gary for the day: overly complicated staging of guns and magazines for unloaded starts. Like, guns propped up and slap starts and all the, asking the RO, can I put this gun on top of this magazine so my thumbnail clears it better? If you've ever watched any super high-level shooter, I don't know if any is the right word, but watch Nils prepare for an unloaded start. You know what he does? He walks up to the table, he takes his gun out, and he lays it on the table. That's all he does. And then he smashes everybody's face in. So be like Nils. Don't overcomplicate things. There seems to be a almost exactly inverse relationship of how long it takes somebody to stage their gear for an unloaded start and how good their stage is going to be afterwards. I've noticed that a lot.
Which is the inverse of a GM make ready.
Yes.
GMs are GMs for a reason. Maybe be more like them. But I was actually squatted with, I've had the honor of being squatted with Rob Latham a few times. And the last time that I was, we had an unloaded start, and we actually had this conversation, and he said that exact thing. He's like, yeah, I messed around with it a little bit, but he's like, I practice it so little and it has such a high disaster factor. It's not even worth it. Not going to mess around with it. And it's like, all right, well, The man is TGO. I mean, he's had like 7 iterations of pistol named TGO after him. So I don't know. Maybe there's something to it.
He has more national titles than you have shot matches. Do what Rob does.
Yeah.
Listen to Rob. Like he's not messing around.
He's one of the few that is actually a paid professional shooter in our sport.
Yep, exactly. Well, I feel very happy that my take on unloaded gun starts is the same as Rob Latham's. That feels very vindicating to me.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I wish I could tell you what was in store for today. I really don't know, other than Riser woke up and chose violence. He has something in store for us, and I'm along for the ride like the rest of you. So, Riser, what are we doing here?
So, we are about to start shit with another podcast, and it's for a good reason. I don't know either of the guys on these podcasts. We have mutual friends. Mr. Maxwell knows one of them. They are friends with my buddy Rob. We're tangentially, we're like 3 degrees of Kevin Bacon away here. But
yeah. I know Andy.
I don't know them.
He's the A3 director for USPSA. He's worked multi-gun nationals, and I have been on their show. So that's about what I know.
Okay, so
but they're not strangers to me.
We should clarify here. What we're talking about is not another shooting show, which is another shooting show, despite the title. The hosts there are Jeff King and Andy Erickson, and the reason that we're about to start some shit is because Jeff King went on a big old anti-3-gun rant, which I heard very ironically driving back to the airport after shooting a 3-gun match. And was
no, he didn't.
Oh, yeah, he did. So, basically, what we're going to do here, if you guys want to listen to the rant, it is episode 124, where Jeff goes off on how terrible 3-gun is. And the reason I wanted to do this, partly because I thought it would just be funny to, have frenemies with another show. But the things that he said, which were the reasons that he doesn't like 3-gun, are really common things that people throw out that are pistol shooters who, when asked why I don't go shoot 3-gun, he kind of routed off all the things that all pistol shooters who haven't shot 3-gun say about 3-gun. And I think it's it'll just be, I think it'll be an interesting topic to kind of like dispel a bunch of myths and, also talk a little bit of shit because, how I roll. So
if that's a direction we're going, that was some of my motivation, that kept me warm on all those cold dry fire sessions while I was working my way towards GM. Was I kind of subscribed to the school of you kind of have to be one before you can say certain things, and so It's like, all right, now I'm at this level, so I can call bullshit on this, because I can execute at 95% in your game too. So maybe listen to what I have to say.
I like where this is going. So I'm going to do this a little bit backwards because Jeff went on a bit of a rant, and then he described, and he says, in fairness, I've only shot 3-gun at my local club and once, and this is what it was like. So let me describe, abbreviated in Jeff's words, what 3-gun at his club was like. It was stand in this box, shoot your rifle at some shit very far away, ground rifle, run to the next box, shoot shotgun on a spinner or small plates specifically put there to make it harder for 3-gunners or to make it harder for the 2-gunners in the match who don't have shotguns. And then he went on to clarify that he isn't assuming that they put it there. He said the match directors told him verbatim that they put in far spinners and tiny pistol targets to make it harder for the 2-gun shooters. Then you ground your shotgun, you run to the last pistol position, and you blaze generally 3 targets at less than 5 yards, followed by a 10-minute reset because clearing guns and the time to make ready. So that was his description of his local club match. Let me just start by saying, what kind of, this is a stage, really? This is what you guys do. No wonder you hate 3-gun. This sounds terrible. I wouldn't shoot 3-gun either if this is what the stages are like.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go that hot on a club match because somebody's making a match where there would be a void of a match. But it is kind of a jerk thing to do when you it is akin to what USPSA is doing to PCC shooters, and they specifically design stuff to be a pain in the butt for PCC to discourage PCC, and that's not USPSA as an organization. That's people at the club and area level, having an axe to grind. So that's kind of crappy. But like at the same time, I mean, it's a club match. He can have whatever club match he wants. But to say, I mean, dude has a show just like we do, so he can say whatever he wants. But like to judge an entire sport based on one experience at a club level, and that club is basically stuck in 1997 version of the sport. That's I don't know. That's like I don't know. I don't even know. That's like saying USPSA is only, it's only for race guns, and there's no other division other than open. Like, it's just not true. That's not an accurate depiction of the sport.
Yeah, and I was like, when he described his local club match here, for the first part, I was like, oh man, this sounds like a really unfortunate match. Like it's, it sounds like this match just kind of grew up on its own, hasn't really seen anything from the outside, and they just, kind of don't know what it can be. And then he described the people saying that they're specifically screwing with the two gunners, and I'm like, okay, yep, you lost me. Like, nope, I'm not on board anymore. But this sounds like just some backwoods stuff, and he's basing his whole thing on that. And so let me start breaking down the individual things that he did. And so to be fair here, Andy Erickson did kind of back our sport a bit. He said so he covered a lot of stuff and kind of pushed back a little bit on Jeff, but Jeff was kind of like going on a tear. So,
well, and to be
Jeff's
fair, Jeff, I don't know where Jeff is from. I know Andy is from somewhere in outstate South Dakota. So I can also relate with a club out there. Like try starting action shooting sports and an action shooting club away from a population center. It's like telling a third world country to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. It's like they have no resources,
Yeah. Well, I mean, they hold USPSA matches there. Like, they do have walls and stuff.
Yeah, because okay. But I can relate because I tried to start an outlaw action pistol shooting thing at a club in rural Minnesota, and it was the same thing. I'm like rural Minnesota, like in a town of 800 people. Okay, so like it was a small place.
That's small. That's small pickings.
So, but let's review his list of grievances and explain to him why he's wrong.
Here's the list of grievances. What's the Seinfeld episode where you read the list of grievances? I can't remember. Anyways, all right. List of grievances. The number one: you don't need a stage plan.
What?
Yep, that was the first thing he said before he started describing his. He's like, 3-gun is super dumb. You don't even need a stage plan. When you go to a major 3-gun match, you need the whole day before to figure out like 8 to 10 stages. Like, not only do you need to be able to stage plan as well as USPSA, you need to be able to stage plan way better because in a lot of cases there's a lot of options. So it's not only like, where do you shoot the targets from? You got to figure out which gun you're going to shoot them with, where you're going to do your transitions, where you're going to do your loads. But like, it's 3 whole USPSA field courses on every single stage.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Well, that's an ironic statement because by rules, the longest a USPSA pistol stage can be is 32 rounds. I love the story of when Tamfo Tim started working with us on multi-gun nationals, and he wanted to do the all pistol stage. And my guys were like, yeah, Tim wants to do a stage for us. He just wants to do a massive pistol stage. He's just stoked that he can have more than 32 targets in a stage. And we're like, sweet. He shows up to the stage planning meeting. He's like, all right, guys, here we go. 38 round pistol stage. And we're like, homie, you could
double that.
Your job was to build a massive pistol stage, and you put 3 more targets in there? He's like, well, yeah, I think that's pretty. We're like, oh, honey. he's come a long way. I think some of the most badass stages we have this year are Tim's stages, but
that's adorable.
But yeah. So that's you literally at a legit 3-gun match, you need 3 times the stage plan of USPSA. I would say it's the challenge of 3-gun is trying to remember and memorize a stage the way the system like, oh, Adam just took a drink. So Like the system that Anderson teaches for memorizing a stage is hard to do in 3-gun because literally it's like 80 targets and some long range holds. You know?
Well, I mean the last match that I just shot, which wasn't even didn't even have big stages in the grand scheme of 3-gun. There were multiple stages where the winning stage time was over 90 seconds.
Yeah.
So think about that in USPSA terms.
Yeah.
So like just imagine like trying to memorize like an entire club match as one stage. You know, like do you even shoot 90 seconds in a whole club match? Maybe not. Maybe you shoot like 40.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So yeah, imagine like memorizing your club match twice. All right.
So that's cute.
Grievance number one. That's adorable. Grievance number 2. You don't need to know how to shoot well, which was a pretty broad statement, I felt like. And I feel like that's because this club's pistol stuff is all 3-inch hoser targets. Let's just take just the pistol portion for a minute and ignore the fact that you have to shoot C-zone targets with a slug at 70 yards and spinners at 50 yards with a slug and rifle to 650 yards in some cases. Let's just take the pistol. What do you think is the individual hardest pistol shot you've ever taken in a USPSA match?
In a USPSA match?
Yeah, like 25-yard mini popper?
Oh my God, people shot those mini poppers at nationals last year and lost their minds. I didn't even really know what they were talking about. Like, what? Oh yeah, of course they put a mini popper at 30 yards. Why? Is that a problem? Like,
yeah.
In 3-gun, a common target is a 5x5 KO square.
Yeah. Super common. I've shot C-zone steel at 100 yards multiple times. I've shot mini poppers at like 30, like on every other stage in a match one time, like up in Parma.
The last,
go ahead, lay it on me.
The last Wisconsin 3-gun championship, we had our long range area, and we were trying to make it multi-gun. We didn't want it to be a 1-gun stage, so we were like, well, the closest berm was 200 yards. So we're like, well, put a pistol steel out there at 200 yards. And the match director, Kellen, I wasn't the match director, I was the range master. And so Kellen's like, oh, no, that'll be too hard. That'll be too hard, blah, blah, blah. No one's going to hit it. Well, it's like, okay, well, we'll make a bonus. We made up whatever BS way we could to do a bonus in the UML rule book. And he's like, how hard is this? I was like, well, hey, how about you try it? If you hit it, we can put it in the match. He's like, fair enough. If I can hit it, we'll put it. And Kellen's a good shooter. Kellen's a solid M. And I think he was on the bubble of GM. And so he gets out. I think he was shooting his Glock at the time. No, maybe his Phoenix. Anyway, but he whips out his pistol and he's like, this is so dumb. He's like, he just lines up on this thing. Bah. Ding. First shot, dinger on the 200, and he's like, well, I guess it's in.
Guess it's in the match. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I have taken some ridiculous shots in 3-gun. I mean, I think the longest poke I've taken with a rifle was 650 yards at C-zone steel. That was a lot. I've probably shot over 600 in like a half dozen matches. I mean, a lot of long range rifle, right? What was Sluggy Bear at the last time? I think it was at 250. So
I don't know. I
big
blacked
old piece
out.
of steel that you shot with a slug from 250 yards away, and just a ridiculous amount of hard pistol shooting. Like, it's super common, and that's part of that stage planning thing, right? Like, man, in the UML days, you would have just a wedge of like 3-inch steel plates. And you'd be like, all right, so that's not very hard with the shotgun, but it takes a long time to load up a shotgun. How good am I feeling with the pistol today? Because I get 23 rounds to try for those 12 plates out there before it really starts being a problem. So the fact that the pistol shooting gets really hard is for good match directors in a 3-gun only match. a very intentional decision, because it starts forcing that question like, okay, is it hard enough that it's worth the time for you to just switch to another gun? So the idea that like you just have to be, good at quad loading the shotgun and be a really hosey pistol shooter. It's like, dude, the good 3-gun shooters are all really good pistol shooters. They're also really good rifle shooters, and they're also really good shotgun shooters. You can't be bad at any of these. You have to be pretty darn good at all 3 of these. But yeah, by far, like I bet if I picked like the top 50 hardest pistol shots I've ever taken in a match, like I would run through that list well before I got to anything in a USPSA match. Like some partial head box at 15 yards, whoop-de-doo. Like who cares? That's chill. So
two more things on this. One, I'll say I've never had to wait for a bullet to impact the target in USPSA.
Yeah.
So whereas I've taken plenty of pistol shots in 3-gun where I kind of had to wait for it to get there to see what happened. And then 3-gun nation days, all right, when we had the biggest payout in action shooting sports at the time, tons of people hemorrhaged out of USPSA into the sport to try and get some of that money. All right. I think Jerry has always kind of been a 3-gun shooter, but Max Michel came over, threw his hat in that ring, helped me out with some of these other names. I mean, like big, heavy-duty pistol shooters that came over. I think Benny Hill, I guess he was more of he's a 3-gun shooter. But there were a lot of guys who titrated out of the pistol sports into 3-gun to get some of the money. They were never the hitters at the top of 3-gun nation when that was hot. Now I will say, like, the sport has ebbed and flowed. Right now it's pretty rifle heavy. I mean, there was an era where it was very shotgun heavy, like in the era of where quad loading got hot. Like, I mean, it was pretty shotgun heavy in those years. There were years when 3-gun nation and UML started to introduce the concept of options. So, like, when I first started in the sport, it was very much, you will shoot these here, you will shoot those there, and you will shoot these with this. Instead of the concept of, like, well, a pistol or a piece of steel could be knocked down with a pistol or a shotgun, or a piece of cardboard could be shot with a rifle or a pistol, or some of them were slug options, so where you started to have the strategy of options. And stage design wise, that it takes some diligence on the part of stage design, because you can really easily open Pandora's box with the options, and quickly, like in the stage designer's mind, it's like, oh yeah, well, this will obviously go one way. And I'll remember, everyone get your drinks ready. Brian Nelson ran into one of the 3-gun nation regionals, and his mission that year was to shoot in Frostproof, was to shoot as much pistol as possible. He tried to shoot the whole match with as much pistol as possible. And I don't know, I think he used, you should ask him, I think he maybe shot like 50 rounds of shotgun or something.
I remember this. I think he shot a box of shotgun.
Yeah.
I remember him telling me about it because he was so happy that he'd done so well in his mission.
Yeah, and it's like,
and he's like, yeah, I shot like a box of shotgun.
Yeah,
like,
and he's like looking at Charles, like, oh, you've messed up, man. Like, I'm gonna mow this thing down. And so there were eras of the sport that leaned heavy one way or the other. So if you look at it as a snapshot in time, I could see where if that was your only exposure to the sport, you might feel that way. Similarly, too, if this was your only exposure to 3-gun, you might feel this way. But, like, if you go to Texas 3-gun championship or, multi-gun nationals or what are some of the other ones going on this year? Drawing a blank.
Geez. Friggin' Tar Heel, Gen 3-gun, Parma.
Yeah.
Any
of those matches, or if you go if you go to a heavy 3-gun active area, like if you go to Carolina in the Zoo City area, or up in the Minneapolis area for the upper Midwest, I mean, those are not easy matches, where a pistol shooter just goes in and cleans house. So yeah, I would say debunked on that.
Yep. 100%. And yeah, so on that topic, I honestly don't. I didn't like write down everything that they talked about verbatim. I'm just kind of like trying to remember most of this. I think.
Oh, great!
at
We're
some
shooting from
point-
the hip.
We're shooting from the hip a little bit. I made
Another
a couple
thing we do in
notes
3-gun
when-
sometimes.
Yeah, I made a couple notes when I got back to make sure that I wasn't talking completely out of class. But the one of the really common things, and I think it was one of the things it mentioned here, is that 3-gun is just a shotgun loading contest. And to Maxwell's point, I think there was a moment in time when that was true.
Yeah,
where
the late 2000s.
like and like in the late 2000s, like when quad loading became a thing, and there weren't options yet. There like it wasn't like you could load your way into victory, but you had to know how to load a shotgun super well.
I mean,
I think that time is really
that's how you came to know names like Kurt Miller and Rob Romero and Jesse Tischhauser, is because it was those were the people who were really good at it, so they could make time on people, where otherwise good shooters would go backwards. I mean, some of the early Drink Iron Man footage that we saw, I mean, people had the bandolier sleeves on their arms.
Oh yeah, up the arm,
and they were loading them one at a time and stuff like that. So like as shotgun loading innovated, there was definitely a way, like from the genesis at the Soldier of Fortune matches to probably 2012 when pairs and quad loading came to the U.S. We didn't invent it, but it was brought to the U.S. From International IPSC, people seeing it at International IPSC. I would say that was the end of the era where it's a quote-unquote shotgun loading contest, because quad loading was really the great equalizer in like where before that, loading one shell a second was considered very good. And it was really a challenge to get there. Like that required some like diligent dry fire practice to do. I would say, what do you think? What do you think like a B level, the equivalent of a B level shotgun shooter's quad load time would be now? Like if they just got it smooth and didn't drop them on the ground.
Like 4, 3.5, something like that.
Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Like
yeah. I think 4. I think I
wait,
could take somebody
I was thinking 12 round times. Never mind. Okay. So
no. Like for a quad,
I
could take somebody who's never handled a shotgun and get them to load 4 rounds in 4 seconds in like a half hour.
Okay, so before that's like entry level. Like we can get you to pro level. I'll call it underhand loading because that's kind of what it was. It was kind of an underhanded shuffle thing. Go Google some Team Benelli stuff if you want to see it. But like from underhand loading days, like one shell per second, you aspired to that. All right, we could get a brand new shooter at that level on day one. And at a pro level, I mean, a pro level, what do you think? Sub 2?
Yeah, sub 2, you're blazing.
Sub 2, you're blazing. So like. That's the window. We're talking a window of 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds between new guy and someone who is really earning their arthritis and like pounding that shit down. Whereas that's just not like it was back in the day.
Yeah, and at the same time too, the stages have changed a lot.
Oh,
where you know there used to be like, you know, like just a base stage full of steel where more than half of your time was your loading time. And now that's super, super rare because it kind of has fallen sort of like USPSA where it's like, it's pretty rare to have a spot in a 3-gun match these days where you roll up and there's just like 30 shotgun targets in front of you. It seems to be much more broken up with like convenient places to load for good stage designers where that time can be absorbed. So you're not just like standing there loading the shotgun. And then also, especially when it comes to like the base stage stuff and like the fast hosey thing from like the UML days and like when PCSL, when Max was putting on 3-gun matches and stuff, it was pretty rare to load more than like 2 quads on a stage. Like, unless you're going out to Rocky Mountain and you're shooting the all shotgun stage, it's like 48 round jungle run. It's pretty rare that you just like roll up looking like the Unabomber covered in freaking shotgun shells and you have to stuff, 12, 14 quads on a single stage. Like, those days are pretty much behind us. It's more, I'm going to have to put in 2 quads and there's going to be movement in both of those places. So there's somewhere where I can absorb that movement and make it look like I never stopped shooting. Yeah. It's like, is it handy to be able to load fast? Yeah, of course it is. Just like it's handy to be able to reload a pistol fast, but it's no longer a sport where you can just load faster than the other guys and win, even if you're not a good shooter.
Yeah, similar to, like, are there places in USPSA where you need a sub-second reload on your pistol, like you could win and lose it? Sure. On a USPSA speed shoot, that could absolutely make the difference. But on a long field course, as long as that thing's in there and the gun's up when you get to the next position, most of the time your reload is absorbed in some other transition or movement. And it's kind of the same with shotgun now, unless it's some monster all shotgun stage. And some of these big matches that we talk about by name, they will have a big shotgun stage where everybody's like pooling caddies, trying to figure out how they're going to, hold 50 shotgun shells. And there the challenge is more like, how do you load from all these awkward places that you normally don't load from, and how do you strap all this to your body? But even then, like, those courses, I don't know, like, stage winning times on those stages was still 60, 70 seconds, at the top.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a full minute. It was basically a shell a second, but by the time, so like, it's kind of, it's a rehashed criticism. It's very Ken Hackathorn. I was watching a Ken Hackathorn interview. He claims to have invented or been there at the advent of 3-gun, which he probably was. But he's like, I screwed up in involving the shotgun at all. It's like, oh yeah, sorry that you made something fun that a lot of people enjoyed, evolved past what you teach in your little world of skill. And so it shows ignorance about, like, the current state of the sport, I guess.
Well, and dude, like you've always said, man, the shotgun is the most fun gun. Like, everything you shoot explodes, falls down, flies, or make noise. Like, it's the best. Yeah. It's the best.
No 3-gunners hate shotguns. No real 3-gunners hate shotguns.
Yeah, no real 3-gunners hate shotguns.
And 2-gunners aren't real people.
Yeah, and 2x4 killed the sport. Yeah. I'll stand by that till my death.
2-gunners are pistol shooters that wanna branch out.
Yeah, no, I think 2x4. As soon as we tried to introduce a 4th gun, that was a bad idea.
It was a cool name. It was a sweet idea, but it was a patsy. Like, I wish if we could just turn back the clock and just, like, pluck that little solenoid out of Pete's head before he did that. Like, I feel like the sport would be in a different place.
I think you're 100% right. So one of his things was a 10-minute reset. So he described a 10-minute reset on that stage because it takes so much time to clear 3 guns and make ready with 3 guns. I think this just goes back to, like, poor match flow, like a local club that's sort of, like, evolving on their own. Like, at major matches, the way they do it, they'll put dump barrels in places where you can clear guns against berms. You'll have the next shooter walking up behind the 2 guys that are shooting, so you're sort of like staging guns as you're walking backwards. I mean, does it take more time than just, like, making ready with 1 gun? Yeah, of course it does. Does it take 10 minutes to reset? Absolutely not. I mean, you run nationals. Like, how long does it take on average to reset a national stage? That's scored hit factor.
Yeah, there's not enough hours in the day if it took 10 minutes for every single one. That's just poor match administration. Because good stage design is such an easy cop out, and I hate to shit on people who design stages because they're doing more than people who just show up. But designing a stage, that's part of the reason That's part of what should be considered is where is this gun going to end up and can somebody clear it while somebody's downrange? Actually, here's a fun story. Usually in life, going off on somebody does not leave you feeling good. I got my one exception one time. And so we were running Wisconsin State 3-gun championship at a club that had, let's say, family issues in and amongst their their membership. They kind of had warring factions. And so the faction that had this match hosted at this range they were kind of the people who didn't like them. They were kind of coming around, sniffing around, looking for them to mess up. Who were these people, you would ask? Like, was it Nancy Pelosi? No. It was, he was legit a baby boomer. He was wearing an orange vest. He had an NRA firearm safety instructor patch sewn onto the vest.
Oh, so this is just his range kit.
This is his range kit, and he had a whistle.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, I love to hate this guy.
So
okay, continue. Yep, I have a good picture in my head.
Range master to stage 6. Okay, what's up? There's a guy here. Like, oh no.
Wait. This isn't a match you're putting on?
No. I was the range master at another club, so I was just range master.
Oh, okay.
There's a guy here, and he won't let us shoot. He's insisting to see whoever's in charge here. I'm like, okay, which is interesting for those keeping score at home. I'm not a member of this club, all right? So I'm like not one of the anointed ones. I show up and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, oh, I'm looking for who's in charge here. I'm like, that's me. And he's like, well, you're not. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm the range master. Back to you. And he's like, well, and this is one of those stages. This is on like the quote unquote long range stage. The longest state range we had was a 200-yard sight-in bay. And so they start here with some rifle, they progress to some shotgun, they end up with some pistol. And so I'm like, what's the problem? And he's like, well, they're resetting targets while he's still shooting. I'm like, okay. He's like, well, that's not allowed here at this. He's like, is that allowed in the sport? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, well, that's not allowed here at this club. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go talk to the match director. I'm gonna leave his name out of this. People who are from here will know who we're talking about. I'm just gonna go talk to. It's not his name, but Jim. Oh, well, I'll just go talk to Jim. I'm like, no, I'm the range master, and you're holding up my match. Show me your problem. No, it's fine. I don't want to cause a problem. I'm like, too late. Show me. My wife at the time is on the back of the four-wheeler. And I get off, and I'm like, you show me the problem. And she whispers, I think it was to Travis. She's like, oh, that's Adam's angry voice. And so he goes and he shows me. I'm like, what target are you upset about? And he shows me one. So if this was your typical 200-yard range, this is a paper target that's like 10 yards in front of the bench up against the berm at the 90-degree angle. All right? And he's like, well, he's kind of in like the toddler, like getting scolded, like, posture now. He's like, well, they were resetting that target over there. And I'm like, and where were they shooting from? And he points, well, they were still shooting from over there. And I'm like, so let me get this straight. Your problem is that they're pasting this target right here while they're shooting 30 yards over that way in completely the other direction. Well, yeah, I guess it doesn't sound so dangerous when you say it that way. I'm like, thank you.
When you say it the way that it happened?
Yeah. I don't think he stuck around long after that.
Awesome.
But yeah, I scolded an old man and slept very well that night.
I I bet you did. Yeah, I've seen some BOCs in my time, but I've never actually had somebody roll up with an orange vest and then NRA instructor patch sewn into it.
But that was one of the things.
next
Like
level.
when I inherited multi-gun nationals, right? I mean, that was one of the things that used to be in the USPSA rulebook. Only ROs could clear guns, and that was one of the things that made the match run so far behind. Maybe like in the Frostproof years. Or certainly,
Well, even in the Vegas years,
yeah, the Vegas years, it was bad.
Vegas years, Open Super Squad comes to this stage. It was the only year that I have shot USPSA Nationals because it left such a bad taste in my mouth. So coming to your match this year will be my first time back since this one. So a bunch of other stuff happened at this match too, which I won't get into because we need to go back to shitting on another podcast.
Yeah, that's another pod.
Yeah, so we need eyes on the prize here. But at this match, it was only the ROs could clear guns, and so they roll up. Super Squad rolls up. It's like Jerry, Dan, Keith, like all the heavy hitters there. This old RO that doesn't know anybody, just knows these are a bunch of jackasses in jerseys, is like, here's the deal. Nobody's allowed to touch guns except for me, and I'll DQ you right on the spot. I don't care who you are, blah, 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 blah. Oh, Shooting USA is there with the camera, too.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Anyways,
So they recorded it.
So somebody shoots. I don't remember who it was. And I don't even think it was a box shotgun. I feel like it was Jerry's gun, but I don't know for sure. But anyways, RO goes over to clear this open division shotgun. Doesn't know what he's doing. Boom! Blows a hole in the bottom of the dump barrel. Like the whole RO. And then, yeah, so we need to get with Travis Gibson because he was there. He's got a great story about it. But, just because you have an RO patch doesn't mean you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and
fantastic.
that's I mean, we're still I and my club are still fighting that to this day. Like that, the damage that was done to the sport by those, albeit probably well-intentioned people and in their heart. What was that? That was 10 years ago by now.
Yep.
10 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that was 20. Yeah, it was at least 8. I think 2017 is the year that I shot that and was like, I'm never coming back.
Yeah, it's almost statistically unlikely that you would even still be in the sport at all. And for the fact that you're still in the sport and maybe even going to give it a second chance is wild. But yeah, like back to that was some of the things in the rule book that we did have to go through and change. It's like, okay, this doesn't make sense. No 3-gunners feel this way. We absolutely have safe ways to do all this stuff. And that was some of the innovation of, again, like 3-Gun Nation. I mean, 3-Gun Nation was the ones that standardized like, nope, the only place you abandon guns is in dump buckets. And dump buckets are red Rubbermaid trash cans bought from Home Depot. Like, that is the only thing. And a trash can, the dump barrels, they have to be staked to the ground. All right? So, like, when Romero was RM, like, he would go around, and when he was proofing stages, he would literally kick the dump barrels, and they had to stay there. Whereas, like, that wasn't a thing in the early days. Like, it was part of it. Like, if you threw the gun in there too hard and it tipped over, you were DQ'd, son. Or it was not uncommon for guns to bounce out. I mean, like, if you pogo sticked your shotgun in,
didn't you get the toss for that happening in Vegas?
That was not a bounce. That was an SBR, and more of the mass of the rifle was above the rim than was below the rim, and it wasn't long enough to it was
to catch the other side.
Yeah. I actually use that. It's funny. I'm in Vegas right now, teaching for work, and so like we had some references to that era, and I specifically mentioned that happening in part of my class for part of a set of talking points that I do. But yeah, I think of that often. I think I was sitting first in open that day. Like I was legit going to be on the box in open at Surefire. And that was the second to last stage of the day. Like, well, that was one of the most painful DQs I've ever had.
You were like you were bummed, but when anybody heard about it, it brought them down so much. I remember that you had stopped telling people because they'd be like, "Oh, it was an awesome match, blah, blah, how'd it go for you?" And you'd be like, I got DQ'd on the second to last stage. You'd be like, "Oh man," and it would just like wreck their day.
Yeah.
So it was. You would just like stop telling.
It was
people.
such a buzzkill, you know. And I'm jerseyed up, so everybody wants to come, not because I'm cool, but everybody comes and talks to you, and they're, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" Blah blah blah. And I was like, I don't even want to tell you. It's bad. But that is, that is some, and the sport has evolved past that, and like that's right up front, like. The guns end up in places where it's safe to clear them as we go, and they are. And it's perfect. Everyone's a freaking adult, so like as long as stays in the bucket when it gets cleared, we're getting the shooter cleared at the last gun, get all the guns cleared, muzzled up, and we're going down to score. That part of the sport has evolved quite a bit because in the Three Gun Nation days, like that was their cycle times on some of that when they had like 300 people at an 8-stage match. They just, to get the cycle times to work, it's just, you can't have that.
Yeah, not at all. So in their discussion here, this is so we're gonna start talking about some multi-gun national stuff here because one of Jeff's thing was that the scoring's dumb because it's just like 2 anywhere and like you just hose your way through, which 2 anywhere is way harder when the targets are 80 yards away. But so Andy hopped in here to clarify that multi-gun nationals was scored hit factor.
Thank you, Andy.
And he did also clarify that he was at multi-gun nationals and he said it was super fun. I don't think Jeff heard that because he just rambled on past. Anyways,
the year that Andy worked it, there were a fair amount of all the rifle targets were mini paper. So it was 2 anywhere, but they were all minis. That was not popular in the reviews.
I bet it was not. Yep. I feel like you can't get away with that anywhere outside of Parma or outside of Rocky Mountain. And then so one of his things, the rebuttal was that 3-gunners hate hit factor scoring. I would say that 3-gunners who don't like math hate hit factor scoring because hit factor scoring allows you to do a lot of things. Mostly, it allows you to balance stages. So if you have a time plus points scoring system where every stage is 100 points, if you have a 60-second stage and a 160-second stage, those 2 stages are worth the same amount of points. So if you have exactly the same problem on the short stage, is worth, more than twice as much penalties as it is on the long stage, which is why hit factor scoring is awesome because it self-regulates the stages. So multi-gun nationals is hit factor scored, PCSL is hit factor scored. It's the way to go. Hopefully all matches go to this. We'll see.
Yeah, I think the only people who don't like hit factor scoring are people who are ignorant to it. People who just shoot the sport, shoot and like, oh, tell me how I did. Did I do good? And really a big part of the reason that I got behind it is 2 reasons. One is the facility that I was using using for the match is restricted in some ways. So I don't have a ranch in Texas. I don't have an open desert in Idaho. So to create an interesting shooting challenge, we start to have to manipulate the target sizes. And that's some of what I think UML innovated on some of that. Because you remember the year when he had those golf balls? He had like a golf ball on a string that you had to shoot.
Dude, fuck those golf balls. All right. No.
Yeah, but that was
terrible.
that was like
so
that was the beginning of an attempt on innovation. He's like, well, I can't. BLM, Bureau of Land Management, says I can't put a 300 target over the berm at Pro Gun. He's like, I had to come up with I'm trying this, and so it was that plus I'm trying to run this match in this kind of neglected rule book, time plus, and I'm trying to figure out the points and making the points work, and I'm kind of scratching my head and whatnot. And I remember I was in my camper trying to figure this out, building it in practice score, because all the stages had to be worth 100 points or something like that. because it's just the backwards way it was written. And I was like, why? I'm like, there are 8 area championships, 3 nationals. There's a USPSA match every weekend of the year. How does nobody else have this? Oh, those are all scored hit factor. It's 10 points a target. However many targets you put in there, that's how many points this stage is worth. Whereas before in 3-gun, it was kind of either everything's worth 100 points, which is a way to do it, but it kind of is contingent on the stages being balanced in size and difficulty, or it was subjective to the match director, like the godfathers of 3-gun before me in Minnesota. They would weight the Minnesota 3-gun group would weight stages differently at the tri-gun, but they would say, oh, okay, this is a big stage, it's 120 points. Okay, this is a little stage, it's only worth 60 points. And they would subjectively, in God mode, decide like this stage is worth this many points, and the winner will receive all of them. And I didn't like that either, because it's kind of leaves you open for, if I use myself as the example, all right, so I come through and I designed this whole state. I got a million things going on. I designed some stages. I loaded in practice score, and boom, okay, we're executing a match. And then we get a guy like Max Leograndis, who is very analytical, and that's a compliment, but it can be frustrating sometimes. But he'll come up to you and be like, well, didn't you think of this? Like, blah, 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 blah. And obviously, this is that, well, that's not even worth shooting at. And whoever wins this stage, they're going to win the whole match. And he'll tear your whole scoring system apart in 5 seconds. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
damn, I was just trying to build a match, and someone did the math and shot what made sense to me, all full of holes. The hit factor scoring system takes that away. A target's worth 10 points. However many targets you put out there, that's how many points the stage is worth. Whoever wins the stage, they get all the points. I like it a lot better. I think it's a lot less arbitrary. Like a lot of the time plus scoring right now, it just feels very arbitrary and feels very dated to me. But that's not to say it doesn't exist in USPSA. I mean, I just shot Single Stack Classic, and it was a fun match. Precursor, fun match. That is the easiest, lamest stage design match I've ever shot that wasn't a club match. It was kind of like a phoned in club match. It was all wide open targets, or certainly wide open A zones, and they weren't more than 15 to 18 yards away, and it was groups of 3 or 4. It was compared to what we saw at Western State Single Stack, which is like a legit area championship, but the only division is single stack. My experience with the stage design in particular at single stack was this gentleman's experience with stage design at 3-gun. It's it goes both ways, and that's just the human that designed it and put it on.
Yep. So I think one of the interesting ways to go was one of my favorite things that Pete brought to the sport was adjusted stage values.
Yes.
So the way that Pete did it, if you didn't want to go to hit factor scoring,
I love that so much.
The time of the winning stage time was the value of the stage.
Yeah.
If a stage took 38 seconds for the winner, it was worth 38 points. If a stage took 120 seconds for the winner, it was worth 120 points. I thought that was fantastic.
I thought that was fantastic too.
That was such a brilliantly simple move. The only bummer is it makes the math ahead of time super hard because you don't know how much a stage is worth until the match is done. But you don't know what a stage is worth, or you don't know what the hit factor of a stage is going to be worth until the match is done anyway.
Right.
So,
but I also like the suspense that it adds to the sport. That's some of what we need.
Sure.
Somebody can come through and crush a stage and just
crush it and just change everything.
Just totally turn everything upside down. If we know who's tracking to win on the first day of a 3-day match, well, that's a pretty lame sport.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so super interesting. All right, so the last thing that specifically was mentioned with Jeff and Andy talking, and I think this one was actually Andy's. He was talking about, he said it's hard to shoot stationary shotgun targets because you spent your entire life shooting flying targets and you're used to following through. So it's hard to shoot a thing sitting still on the ground with the shotgun. What?
Andy. Andy. Let me. So.
I don't even know how to respond to that. I grew up shooting clays too. And then when I had to shoot at stationary targets, I was like, oh, wow, this is way easier.
It's like, oh, wait, I did A. I'm used to doing A. And B is different than A. So when I do B, it's not like A. And so, where? Is that?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of.
I don't know.
I thought you were better than this.
So that
Andy.
that was pretty much Jeff's rant in the whole. And I got a lot more here because I figured this is a good segue into something else. But essentially, what happened was Jeff went to a Bob's Backcountry Circle Track race where everybody got their old Buicks together and raced in a circle. And then he looked at that and went, wow, NASCAR is dumb, and then went home. That's pretty much what he did. Oh, so,
yeah, well,
I don't know. Maybe go to an actual NASCAR event.
Everyone's
Just
entitled
saying.
their opinion.
Yeah.
But,
so,
Multi-Gun Nationals is in Area 3, so I hope Andy comes to visit us for the open forum meeting.
Dude,
and
come on
and
up.
I hope Jeff comes on out and maybe gets a taste of real 3-gun.
Yeah. Come shoot some real 3-gun, Jeff. We'd love to have you. For the record, we are starting a fake podcast beef because in real life, Jeff is like a 6'6" dude who is a BJJ black belt who owns a gym, as far as I can tell. So he can definitely just break me in half. So we're not starting an actual beef because I don't want that heat. But
well, here's the thing. Oh
my God, dude, just come shoot a real match. Like, you'll have a ton of fun. It's like we're all friendly dudes.
All we're saying is give peace a chance. If Jeff comes out and shoots Multi-Gun Nationals, I will comp his slot.
There we go. Look at that. Free national match, Jeff.
And
free national match.
Per 3-gun culture and our welcomingness of new people, if you take your free slot and you show up, you will get a copious amount of unsolicited loaner gear and advice from people who are very good at this very challenging sport.
Yes. And it will be hilarious to get a photo of me and Jeff together since, as far as I can tell, he has 14 inches on.
Yeah.
So.
And he'll definitely be on the super squad because he'll be he shoots head and shoulders above all the 3-gunners. So we'll just seed him into the super squad. So
open super squad, come on out. I'm sure Amax has a dissident you can borrow. It's going to be left-handed, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine. All right, so the related topic, which I think is a really good segue from this, it's going to be a long one, but who cares?
Are we still choosing violence, or are we transitioning violence, or
no? We're transitioning.
Okay.
We're easing off.
Okay.
I wanted to have just a quick little rundown of some things that we really love because they just kind of went on a rant on all the things they hate in 3-gun. I want to talk about a little bit of both. So a little bit of things that I love in 3-gun matches and things that should never be in a major 3-gun match. And I'm going to start it off with podiums. So I am such a huge fan of when a match has a physical podium. All 3 people stand up there, hold up the champagne, spray each other. Like, how is it that in our sport, it's like, oh, such and such got 3rd place, and you walk up and you high five and you walk back, and then such and such got 2nd place, and you walk up and you high five and you walk back. Why don't we have podiums, dude? Which is 3 egg crates, man. That's all you need. Go for it.
Are you for real right now?
Yeah, I'm for real right now. I know that Multi-Gun Nationals has a podium.
Okay, I was gonna say my brother in
Good for
Christ.
you.
I already did that.
No, No, I am saying why don't all major 3-gun matches have
That's
a
what
podium?
I was trying to make it a thing.
There's always a picnic table.
You know what's funny?
Some dude stands on the floor, some dude stands on the second step, some dude stands on the top. Like, this is super simple.
You know what's funny is the first year I did that at Multi-Gun Nationals, the people, the pistol people were pissed that they didn't do it at the other nationals. They're like, what?
Yeah.
They're like, what's this bullshit? We don't get to do that. I'm like,
national level match, there's no podium?
brothers, I already got the champagne bought. All right, it's chilling in my basement right now.
Sick. So, I'm also curious on now. Let's be super clear. The podium should be at least 3 spots. This has been established since like freaking BC days of Olympics. Like, the Olympics have long established that the podium should be 3 spots. The only match I've ever been on where they did not recognize third place was Rocky Mountain last year, and I was super pissed because guess who was in third place? This guy right here.
Always a bridesmaid, brother.
Third place in the match, third place overall. Super stoked on my finish. Super pissed on the no recognition thing. What the hell?
But I would need a bigger house if I had all the trophies I should have gotten where I was 1 spot below the wood.
Oh, dude. Yeah, no kidding.
Including years I got second.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. So, podium should be at least third place. Now, in some sports, like in mountain biking, road cycling, all the UCI stuff like that, the podium is 5 places. And then in some matches, the not necessarily like the podium, but the recognition, meaning you get, a trophy of some sort, like PCSL Nationals, the podium is based off of percentage of people in the division. So, for example, in competition division at PCSL Nationals, they recognized the top 8. I'm not good at math. I don't know what percentage of division that was, but what's your take? 3 places, 5 places, or you like my first year getting into the wood and tack at Drink Ironman, the podium recognized the top 10 because like that era of Ironman was the 2 weekend era where Ironman for tack was like a whole weekend that was all tack, and there was like 240 people or some crazy shit all shooting tack, and they're like, hey, there's 200 people here, maybe we should recognize more than 3. And so they just recognized the top 10. So 3 places, 5 places, some percentage of division based off of scale. What do you think is appropriate for a major match, a championship, a national level event?
I am probably team 3.
Team 3?
Team 3.
All
right. I just, because I've gotten plenty of those other, like, I think we recognize. Do we? No, we don't. But I mean, I've been at ones where I've gotten a lot of the 3rd to 10th place trophies, and I don't know, for like, I just think about like the effort it takes to like make legit trophies. I mean, like for our matches for JKM and Multi-Gun Nationals, like Varric Bizey makes them himself. Yeah,
sick.
Yeah, Varric.
So does he just stamp his name in them when he makes them?
No, nope. He does that later.
Yeah, that's the other thing, man. Like, put just a little bit of effort.
Yeah,
in.
well, that's
like,
the thing.
I've
like,
always said,
like, I would rather it be a cool trophy. Like, I'll never forget the first year of the Shooter Source 3-gun match. Jeremy Moore had these awesome, like, cutout of Texas trophies, and I was like, oh, that was sweet. The next year I won limited, and there either were no trophies or it was like a 2x6 that got routed and stained. Like it was not, it was such a let. I was like, oh, that was such a cool trophy, and I wanted one. And then when story of our life, like when we get on the box, it's a lame trophy. When we don't get on the box, it's like, oh man, I got this place that I would love to put that, and we're
Yep.
just a little bit short. But like
Dude,
first, second, third, I think is recognizable in representative divisions. If you're gonna make trophies, I think make good ones, and I would rather they be awesome trophies than mediocre trophies that go deep, I guess would be my position on the question. Random question. Top 2 of your favorite finishes in a match of all time that you weren't on the box for. Like finishes that you're most proud of that you weren't on the box for. I'll start while you think of it. It would be my first Ironman drink where I walked 22nd. There was scoring shenanigans, and I think I got bumped to 19th. That was one of my first big matches. I was so proud of that, and that's probably the best I ever did there was that first year. And then number 2 would be the first Task Force Dagger I ever went to, the second one in Georgia where it rained. I think I was 30-something. I was like 35th. And that was, when people talk about a stacked prize table, I have never seen a stacked prize table since that. Like, people can just get out of here with that noise. This match, the guns went 40 or 50 people deep. I walked the table like 35th. I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy I at least did well enough to walk away with a gun. And the gun I got was the first gun that Dissident Arms ever put on a prize table. And that was when I met Mike and Lan. Because
that's awesome.
My thought process was literally, it was right next to like a lame DPMS. Sorry, Randy. AR. And my thought process was literally like, don't have an AK. And so I took this tricked out AK, walked over to the FFL line, and come running up behind me is Mike Whitesides. He's about Adam size, riser size. He's, hey, I'm Mike Whiteside, blah, blah, blah. I built that, blah, blah. He's like, it's got this and it's got that and it's got that and the other thing and blah, blah, blah. And I did it like this and I put this Cerakote job on. He's like, yeah, that's worth like $3,200. And I'm like, you could literally, like in my hands, I just hold it out at arm's length and I look at it like, I'm like, not bad for 35th.
Yeah, not bad at all. I don't know. I'd have to rack my brain a little harder to come up with the real answer, but I think my answer is probably 4th place at my second MGM Ironman. I was still shooting limited, and I got 4th because I couldn't shoot some of the long range targets because I couldn't see them because limited, and that's actually the match that like made me move into TAC. But
what year was that?
Yeah, that would have been 2015, I think. I think that would have been 2015.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, I think I started shooting tag in 2016. So, yeah, I think 2015, 4th place, MGM Ironman. I have a lot of 4th place finishes, but most of them I'm not proud of. Most of them I'm super pissed off about. So.
Right. Struggle's real.
All right. So,
back to you.
Mulligans. I am a no mulligan guy. One of my favorite things about the sport is like rally racing. You step up to the stage, the timer goes off, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. I am an anti-mulligan guy. How do you feel?
I'm pro mulligan.
Boo.
Because
I know, because you like fucking with people's heads.
Well, yeah, I like the complexity it adds to the game. Because mulligans, for those not familiar, Jeff, at some matches where there are mulligans, this goes out to Jeremy Moore. I think it was his idea. It's been copied other places, but the ones that people talk about the most are Jeremy's. So Jeremy's idea was from Shooter Source days, he would sell mulligans. So you could buy one. You could only buy one. It was all for charity, so whatever charity he wanted to donate to, whatever they were supporting at the time or whatnot. But you could buy one for like $20, You had to buy it at registration, yay or nay, and they hand you the card. When they hand you the card, that is your mulligan. You got to have that thing on you, all right, to use it. And so you have one to use somewhere in the match. And it is what it is. So it's literally like a get out of jail free card, reshoot on demand for one stage somewhere in the match. But the temptation is there's no perfection in our sport. That's the beauty of it, right? Like you can crush a stage and still see like where you could, in your head, you could do 10% better, even though you probably can't. So it would mess with people. They would have like a little bobble here or there and like, oh, should I mulligan that? Should I mulligan that? And it's not like you get the better of the two scores, all right? If you mulligan, you're getting a reshoot, and whatever this one is, that's going to be your score. So you don't get the better of the two runs. And most people's mental game, not really in a good place to execute well on reshoots.
Like I said, folks, Maxwell just loves fucking with
right.
people.
So a lot of times people would go backwards, or they would burn them and not do very well. That's most of the ones that I've used. I've used them and, did not shoot measurably better unless you kind of had catastrophic equipment malfunction. And I think that was part of Jeremy's match flow philosophy behind that was, all right, we're going to mitigate some of the whining about, well, this, that, or the other thing. It was kind of a street justice thing because, again, this is an outlaw match. So they would roll up there and you would tell him how you felt wronged by this and that and the other thing, and they called you names and laughed at you. And he would kind of shrug and be like, you can use your mulligan if you want to. And that would kind of be that. That was kind of like the street justice of, if it's that important to you, you can burn a mulligan on it. And I think it adds an interesting aspect to the game because it definitely messes with people, especially on the long range stage. Yeah, I mean, everybody, especially in Texas, everybody thinks they can do better on the long range stage. I remember Logan Toland one year. We teed off on one of the long range stages at Texas 3-Gun Championship, and he did fairly okay. Like he missed like 4 times, and he's like, I could do better than that. I can do better than that. And he's on a squad with like pros. All right, so like Dylan Easley, Jay Christensen, James Gill, all right, Brian Reed, good guys, Nick Miller, all right, we're all telling him, like, dude, no, it's the first stage of the match, don't use your mulligan, don't use your mulligan, don't use your mulligan. He burned that mulligan, and what did he do?
Just got slaughtered.
Rifle went bolt action, baby.
Oh, no, dude.
Like,
yeah.
So it cuts like a knife. So I think it's intriguing. And so everyone's like, okay, to finish the story. So you have your mulligan, you had to use, and it was one of those things at first you had to use it before you hit approve. So you were all jacked up on adrenaline. You're super like emotional. And it was approve or mulligan. Right now, you got to have it on you. And that evolved into more recently, like as of last year, it was you had to declare it before your last shooter shot. So like they knew if there was one more. Like, so you had kind of your like your squad to like calm down and think about it. Because there was a lot of emotional mulligans, like I'm mulliganing, and they're like, then people are like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that, which is what makes it delicious. But if you didn't use it, there was a juicy prize, like there was a gun. And if you didn't use your mulligan, you put your mulligan into the drawing, and those people would get drawn for some prize. So there was some incentive not to use it, but it was there. It would essentially, it would essentially save you from a catastrophic stage on a match. I think it's interesting. Someday I'm going to try and get it into the USPSA rulebook. That year won't be this year. I probably won't be successful, but I'm pro mulligan under the right conditions. Like I said, I've heard some riser stories that no, I'm not a fan of that. But the way Jeremy Moore does it, I think, is actually fair and interesting.
Yeah. So I think this is an interesting thing. I don't think this should be part of major match, but I like this for like club match. Let's call it a big club match. Like the Salt Lake 360 is going to be here in a couple weeks. A forced mulligan where you can buy a forced mulligan for your buddy. So he shoots the stage and you're like, here's $40. You have to go shoot it again.
Oh, that might be interesting. We should have Jared do that at UPOA or at UTLE.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That is like the perfect match for that.
That's some UTLE shit right there. Colby?
Yeah. Jared, if you're listening right now, Jared and Colby, forced mulligans, all the money goes towards, I don't know, some law enforcement charity. Like, hook this up. This is a good idea. I'm done.
I'm going to put a sweet red dot on that prize table for that.
Yep, for sure. All right, so I got a couple more left here. This one I just wrote down as super outlaw matches, and I just have brutality in parentheses, having their own divisions, categories, rules, etc., essentially designed to keep 3-gun shooters from showing up at a 3-gun match. Let me read to you the divisions for brutality matches, and I want you to tell me which one of these things is the division that you can just show up with normal ass 3-gun gear and compete. I'll give you a hint. It's none of them. American Standard, Armored plus P, Cyberpunk, Deadeye, Heavy Rifle, Irons, Light Armored, Minimum Loadout, Partisan, Roaring 20s, and Trooper. What the shit do any of those mean?
I mean, like, the only people who are going to think it's fun are Firepower United and Forgotten Weapons.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're both there. And the thing is, like, some of these matches are, like, kind of localish to me. Like, they happen up in Parma. I have read the entire rule set multiple times just trying to figure out if there's a combination of guns in my safe that I can show up to those matches with and compete, and I can't tell.
What I heard you say is you need more guns.
No.
Oh.
I have plenty of guns.
My bad. I saw Jen back there. I was just trying to cover down.
I have plenty of guns. I just took home another gun today because I pulled another Keltec off a prize table. So when I wanted to go pick up, I had the twofer because my suppressor from Surefire from the last prize table showed up, and my Keltec from this other prize table showed up, and went in there to get it. And Brian, who's the guy that owns the armory, is like, "Why is Adam buying Keltecs?" Like,
and not from me.
Yeah, and not from me. I'm just having them shipped there. He's like, "What is going on?" I'm like, "No, they're prize table pulls." Thanks, Keltec guys. You guys make super weird shit. But you did,
and there's a ton of them that are into
rotate.
3-gun. There's 3 or 4 of them that are hardcore 3-gunners.
They are still, to this day, part of the best squad I've ever been on. So Squad Awesome from Rocky Mountain in like 2017 or 18. We have amazing stories from it. We'll all get drunk and tell them someday. And the Keltec guys were there for that. And they are awesome dudes to hang out with. I love them all. They're fantastic.
Do not ask Hammer to see his tattoo. You've been warned.
Solid. Okay. I got two more left.
So the super outlaw matches, I mean, like, I don't want to shit on other people's good time as hard as Riser did, but like, yeah, it's like there is a certain amount of romanticism about the Soldier of Fortune era because it was so far back and it was so niche and it was so poorly documented. Like, it's really only like an oral history of like what it actually was. And there's
Kurt Miller will tell you all about it.
Yeah, but there's like so little tangible, like like you can ask people who are there, and they're kind of getting fewer, and they're not as accessible as they used to be. But so all that lives on is kind of the legend, you know. It's kind of like the Old West. All right, like our perception is the stories that were told by Hollywood. It's kind of the same thing. Like our perception of Soldier of Fortune was the stories that were told by people who were there. They're remembering the good stuff. They're forgetting the bad stuff. They're probably elaborating a little bit or embellishing a little bit to make themselves, you know. And so, like, I don't believe that it was as cool as it was. And also, that was a completely different generation of people. Like, those were Gen Xers in their prime, you know, late 20s, 30s, maybe 40s, but probably 30s. All right. What do you...
They're more like boomers.
Well,
because I'm a Gen Xer, and that was before my time.
Boomers, Xers, early Xers, okay?
Yeah.
Like, culturally, they're different people than late Xers, millennials, Zs, who are in the sport now. Like, and part of it was, like, at that time, like, it was... You were kind of showing up for a beatdown, but people then were kind of about that. Like they kind of wanted to embrace the suck. I don't know anybody that has the disposable income now and is participating in the action shooting sports that wants a beatdown. Like if they wanted to join, there was 20 years of war. They could have gone and done the thing for real. All right? Like it's nobody's looking for the Navy SEAL experience from action shooting. And so I really think those matches are doing a disservice to themselves and the sport by essentially creating an event to scare people away, except maybe a few hardcore guys who are going to show up either way. So yeah, I'm not really super about the super outlaw beatdown matches. I mean, I was barely down for some of the stuff that went on at Hard as Hell, and I really was like, hey man, like you kind of took something cool and made it suck, you know? Like this is when I remember this, I'm gonna try and forget this part and remember the fun parts. This isn't gonna be the fun part.
Yep. Well, I think the problem or my argument against that is the way that the divisions are set up, where like they're basically set up where you have to just own some super esoteric shit to even like show up and shoot the thing. And it's kind of specifically designed to keep like competition shooters like you and I out. And I think that's a bummer because like, yes, would we show up and slaughter everybody? Probably. But
it's like having a Ferrari open house.
Yeah, like that's how people get exposed to other people, right? It's like that's how people like Keith Garcia find out that he's not a good shooter. He goes to a USPSA match where he gets curb stomped by a dentist and is like, "Oh, I'm not actually good at this thing." So if you live in that little like silo that you've created for yourself, then you never understand like what can happen in the sport at the highest level. But if you open it up so the people at the highest level can show up to your sport and compete, then everybody there gets to see what that looks like. And I think it's just kind of a bit of a disservice to the people involved.
I would level a similar criticism at like the hardcore training guys, like the high performance / tactical training guys who have the quote their standards. You know, they have whatever drill they threw out this week on Instagram, or if they have a patch standards, like you can get a super cool coin or a patch if you do this drill in this time. And it's basically like they kind of create the rules, and in this, so they basically like build something around them. You know, it's like, all right, I'm really good at this, and if you can do this exactly the way that I did it, but better, I will acknowledge your manhood. And I don't like it. It's super good marketing because those guys make a full-time living on people coming to take their class, and people repeat coming. They take the same class over again because they want another
just to try to get.
They want another chance at the patch, and it's like it's kind of a superficial world where when those people, okay, well I got the black patch. Guess what? Your black patch ain't worth a dick if you actually show up to a real competition where the gloves are off. It's like
yeah. Yeah. You want to see what fast looks like? Let me introduce you to this freaking 18-year-old kid from Minnesota in a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
He's going to wreck your world.
Yeah.
All right. This is one that I know that you're down for, shooting 2 divisions in the same match. And
I invented that.
You can do Dude,
no,
you can do this
didn't.
well or you can do it poorly. So Gen 3 Gun just announced that you can sign up for a second division, and I think the way that they're doing it is fantastic. So you sign up for your first division, you have to shoot an AM squad. It is an on-off schedule there. You shoot your first division on the AM squad. You shoot your second division on the PM squad. Your second division is half price, no price table. So it is, hey, I flew all the way out here and I want to shoot more. Like, that's the deal. I am down with that. So you don't get any competitive advantage over shooting 2 divisions. If anything, you get a disadvantage because you're on the range all freaking day. Then you get it
as a double division seasoned veteran. That is absolutely a disadvantage.
Yeah, 100%. So, but I really like it when matches make that an option. I'm seriously considering it for Gen 3 gun because it's another $150 plus some more ammo. So I'm probably going to be out like another $250-ish between shipping and ammo and everything else. But if I'm going to fly all the way out there, it's probably going to be worth it to shoot some more. So I might do it. We'll see.
That's where I'm at. I love to shoot.
Yep.
I mean, the heyday of me doing that was the UML Expedition Multigun. I mean, that's what got on paper when they explained Expedition Multigun to me, because it was kind of shorter stages, abbreviated time slots. I'm like, that sounds lame. And they're like, but you can sign up for multiple divisions in multiple time slots. I'm like, where do I sign up? And at that time,
yeah, that sounds awesome. Take all of my money.
There was an AM, there was a PM, and there was a night shoot. There were a couple times where I signed up for all 3. The first time Ruben did it with me, and I've done a lot of shooting with Ruben, a lot of places. We've experienced a lot together. I got the legit 1,000-yard stare from him that night when we were finishing up the night shoot. I think he really contemplated hanging it up right there. He's like, why am I here? This sucks.
Those are some big days, man. Where you get back to the hotel at like 3 a.m. and you need to get up at 5 a.m. That's rough. That's rough. Yeah, that's a lot.
I want those days back, though. Oh man, I would go back right now.
I just want my 10 years ago body. If I could do with my right now brain and skill set in my 10 years ago body, I would be unstoppable.
I'll even take my right now body. I want to take what I know now. And my equipment now.
Yes, equipment now. Yeah. Well, let me fast forward until I actually have an Atlas pistol of my own, and then we'll go back. So my last thing on the list, match directors who, quote, are slowing down the fast guys. Have you ever
seen... busted this one out early.
Dude, have you ever seen a match director slow down the fast guys?
No, it's never been done.
No.
Never been done.
You know why the fast guys
there
win?
was one. There was
Go
one.
on. Okay.
There was one. John, I love you. I love you, John. I appreciate you so much. John from Winnequa Gun Club. He did a Halloween themed indoor Tuesday league, and he went way overboard with the Halloween themed stuff. Like it was like there was Oh man, there was something like as an example. There was like an array in the stage. It was like it was the vampires, and every time you shot, you had to yell "silver bullet." If you didn't yell "silver bullet" between each shot, so the ROs could hear you, it was such and such a penalty.
What in
and
the
there
hell?
was a bunch of stuff like that. It was all very good natured, and it was like 3 matches worth of ideas crammed into 3 stages. And I literally decided like I'm gonna eat the penalties and try to outshoot this, and the penalties were a little too steep.
They were too much.
They were a little too much. I was close, but not quite. But that is John successfully slowed down the fast guys at his Halloween match this year.
Well done. Well done. That sounds terrible. So generally speaking, when a match director or stage designer is trying to slow down the fast guys, what they generally do is they put in a lot of very hard shooting that will have to happen slower.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing about the fast guys. The fast guys are fast because they're really good. So they can just shoot the slower stuff at a faster pace. What really happens when you try to slow down the fast guys is you massacre the mid-pack. So you take a person who's at their first match or is in their first season of shooting, they're a B-class shooter, they're having a good time, and you make them 0 stages because there's really long shots and partials and all this other crazy stuff. Like, the fast guys are still going to win because they're going to recognize, oh, I need a better sight picture and more trigger control on that shot, so I'm going to apply those skills. But the mid-pack guys don't have that skill set yet. So they're going to shoot those targets with a skill set that's not up to the task, and they're just going to get butchered, and it's going to be like nothing is going to happen inside the mind of the fast guy to be like, oh man, like that really got me. But it's just going to ruin the day of everybody like B class and below. So I don't mind matches with super hard shooting. I'm all about it. There's a time and a place for it. If you're like a match director or a stage designer at a club match and you have some GM shooter or some M shooter who's just tearing everybody up all the time and you want to like put the brakes on him, you can't. He's just better. And that's all there is to it. If you put the brakes on him, multiply that by 3 what you're doing to everybody else in that match. Just he's gonna win because he's better,
and none of them think
that's
it's
all
fun.
there is to it. and then nobody
so
thinks
like
it's
the
fun.
quintessential.
Then you went with
what pops into my mind when you talk about this, because on the off the air, Adam brings up this topic quite a bit. And like the prime example again. Get ready, everyone. At Hard as Hell drink.
I'm hammered, bro.
Somebody
Stop.
out there is freaking hammered right now.
I hope somebody's drinking along with this and they're in a safe place.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. The year that you had to load your shotgun cells from the satchel or from the what was it, the Claymore pouch or whatever. So
it was satchels over your shoulder. Perfectly good example.
So that was well, you can't load your shotgun so fast if you don't have that fancy caddy, so you can't use your fancy caddy now. Here, throw it in there. I don't know anybody who thought that was fun. It's like that was a really fun stage made unfun by this satchel. Like nobody was having a good time. Except Dustin Sanchez, who like swan dived through a puddle, but that was a whole other thing.
That video is maybe one of my best memories of 3-Gun, because they were doing a whole thing for that, and seeing him dive in and then come up and spit out a mouthful of mud at like 400 frames a second was just incredible. Well, just the best time.
Permanently like red dirt t-shirted his brand new JP jersey. I think he ripped it too, or like scraped up he like hurt himself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, he went full swan dive into like 3 inches of water.
Yeah.
Like it was, the commitment to the craft. Chef's kiss, man. Like
I'm gonna
yeah.
mess it up. He is Hispanic, all right, and he embraces it. He looked at, there was a climbing wall you had to traverse, and what is it? I'm gonna mix up the.
Okay, so I got you. So he calls the match director over. Brian Nelson comes over, and Brian rolls up, and Brian's like, "What's up?" And he's like, "This prop is racist."
Yes. Yep.
And Brian's like, "What?"
Brian was a lot more innocent back then.
Yeah, and Dustin goes, "I am a Tijuana Mexican. We don't climb walls, we swim rivers." And then he points to this giant mud puddle because it had just torrentially downpoured the night before. So there's a mud puddle between the stages that the wall was like conveniently over. He's like, "I don't want to climb the wall. I want to swim the river." And Brian just kind of looks around and he's like, "I'll allow it." and dude, Dustin went full send, like full swan dive, belly flop at a dead sprint.
As he's running towards it, Brian puddle. Has 2 water bottles that he's dumping.
Yeah, dumping water into it. Yeah. And then, and he also shot the entire stage barefoot so he wouldn't get his shoes wet, which is just absolutely mind blowing. But yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, go to Dustin Sanchez's Instagram page, scroll back until about 2018-ish, and start looking around because that video is on there somewhere, and it is maybe the best 30 seconds of 3-gun that has ever existed. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's
Dustin
so
Sanchez, he's a hardcore heavy shooter, so he's like number 50 in your programs, but he's one in your hearts on that that match for sure.
Yeah, he is. 100%. All right, well that's all we got. Our good natured shit talk. Not Another Shooting Show was the podcast that Jeff King and Andy Erickson run. It's actually quite a good podcast. We listen to it quite often.
It is a good show.
Amax has been on
it. Go follow. Go like their stuff.
Yep.
And we are
Jeff,
actually friends in real life.
You just got offered a free slot to nationals on the Super Squad. Come hang out, buddy. We'll have you. It'll be a good time. We'll show you the way. We'll show you what real 3-gun looks like.
And if you all out there aren't signed up for 3-gun nationals yet, go ahead, find your way over there. We got a bunch of fun stuff in store for you this year. Probably some of the most technical 3-gun shooting you will do all year. Probably even more than you'll get at a USPSA pistol match. But we're hardcore like that.
Hell yeah. That's all I got. It's your show today. You want to sign us off, Mr. Maxwell?
Well, that was intense. So I guess keep your overlay cards handy, everyone. This has been some kind of on the perf podcast. I hope we still have friends tomorrow, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, buddy.